simulation theory? What do you think is...
So we're talking 7 years ago now, 8 years ago now, and I put on a virtual reality headset and started playing a VR ping pong game. Right now, these headsets were even bigger than they are now, and they were wired, so there's no mistaking you're in virtual reality. But what happened was that the ping pong game was so realistic that for a moment my brain forgot that this wasn't a real game of table tennis. So much so that I tried to put the paddle down on the table, and I tried to lean against the table. But of course, there was no table. So the controller fell to the floor, and I almost fell over. I had to do one of these double takes, like, oh, wait, I'm just in VR. Right? So I started to think about how long would it take us to build something like the Matrix, something that's so immersive that you would forget, right, that you were inside a video game. And so that led me to this idea of the simulation point, which is a kind of technological singularity. But then I started to research things like quantum physics and some of the mysteries around, the observer effect and quantum mechanics. And then I started to look at all the world's religions, and I realized that they're all kind of saying the same thing, which is that there is no physical universe. And so, that led me to the conclusion that we are most likely inside some kind of a computer simulation or a massively multiplayer video game, depending on how you look at it.
But where did that simulation come from if we are inside of it?
Well, that's the big question, right? And there's two versions of simulation theory. And, I teach a class on this at Arizona State University. It's probably the first college-level class about simulation theory, and it kind of pulls in science fiction, religion, philosophy, and technology. But one of the key distinctions I tell my students to make, because it's not talked about a lot with simulation theory, is what I call the NPC versus the RPG versions of simulation theory.
Okay.
Right. So NPC, as you probably know, means non-player characters within video games. So those are the AIs in the video game. The bartenders, the people you're beating up, the opponents, all of that stuff. But basically, they're just code and they're AI. Then there's the RPG version, which is that we are actually doing a role-playing game. Right. So you exist outside the game, and then you have a character or avatar inside the game. So it's just like what we would consider an MMORPG today, right? Except with more sophisticated technology. And so in that case, you get a little bit of a different answer than if you talk about an NPC-only type of simulation, right? Because that's just running on a computer, and we're all AI in that case. Now, the two aren't mutually exclusive, right? In a video game like Fortnite or whatever, World of Warcraft, you have NPCs and you have PCs or player characters, right? So you've got both of those things going on. And so depending on how you look at it, you might